Come join Melissa and her guests on the Chats from the Blog Cabin podcast. From North Carolina, this podcast will have you feeling like you've known these folks for years. Listen in as they chat about life, culture, current events, and more, all with a special Southern flair. Curl up with your favorite beverage and get ready to be entertained. Tune in now for a unique experience that's fun and insightful.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin. You know, the show where I virtually invite people into the Blog Cabin to chat about life. But today I'm going to chat about not taking accountability for things that you yourself do. I'm just going to give you a little background behind this. And now, if it was my fault, I 100% would have said, my bad, 100%, I totally agree with you, whatever. But it wasn't my fault. So I had actually had someone signed up, booked to come on Chats from the Blog Cabin. And I was so excited because it's a cause near and dear to my heart, which is helping those with hurricane relief in Western North Carolina of Hurricane Helene. Most of you know that I am from North Carolina. I'm North Carolina born and raised, and I love to support things that are about my home state. Love supporting local people too, as well. And so their publicist reached out to me and said, you know, she's wrote this book about the aftermath of Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina. Do you want to come on? And I'm like, 100%, yes, I would love for the person to come on. So I sent my Calendly link. Now this is where it gets really, really sketchy, because I honestly think that she overbooked herself, and instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, she started coming back at daggers with me, trying to find fault with what I was doing when it's clearly stated. So I want to put a little caveat or little information in your mind behind the scenes of the podcast. For this podcast, I'm the editor. I'm the host. I'm the one that that sends out the talking points. I'm the one that books people. They don't go through anybody else. It's just me. And yeah, sometimes things do fall through the cracks. And there's been times where I've had to cancel interviews. So I give people grace. I'm like, okay, if you have to cancel, it's 8:00 in the morning, our interview is at 1:30 and you have to cancel, not a problem. Let's reschedule. Well, this person, when I sent her the talking points, which I'll get into this in a minute. I'll show you the whole thing so you can see where it's kind of upset me that she's come out with daggers. I sent her the talking points. And when I sent her the talking points, I was like, go back. When I sent her the Calendly link, in the Calendly link, and I'll share it in a second, shows that I use StreamYard for doing any of the videos, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm online right now on StreamYard. I edit in Riverside, totally something different. And I put all the episodes up. So some weeks there may not be, because I'm so busy, I can't get an episode up. It just depends. It's just me, myself, and I. Nobody else helps me with any of this stuff. So this lady books for an interview to happen May 28th at a certain time. And I'm like, great, that's fine. Automatically, when you book through Calendly, they give you a confirmation email and they send you a reminder email about, hey, this interview's coming up. And it's normally like the day before they send the reminders. I don't send reminders out. It's something that the automatic booking system does already. And even afterwards, it'll say, hey, how was the show? So glad you were on, and gives a follow-up interview. This lady confirmed when she signed up, because I have emails from her saying that, oh, I'm looking forward to our interview for your podcast on May 28th. And this was back in January. So she'd already confirmed that she was going to show. Now, I didn't know I needed to go and handhold and have extra steps for people. Now, I'm going to show you the Calendly link, and I'm going to show you the form that she filled out. And I'm going to show you exactly why it made me so mad. So hold on just a second. Here you go. So as you can see, it says, here you go, Chats from the Blog Cabin booking. It's about an hour. I record both an audio and visual. If you're not comfortable being on camera, please do not fill out this form. Please share anything that will help you prepare for your meeting, including your site as well, what we'll be talking about. Please share headshots labeled with your name for social media promotions and send to, and a lot of times I get headshots that are not labeled with their name for social media. StreamYard links will be sent on the Tuesday before the interview, if not sooner. Please do not reach out to me if it is before Tuesday, because all it does is it's going to delay getting you the talking points, because I have it on my list. Tuesday nights, I sit down and I send out all the talking points. Now, and then it says, please put below any links that you would like to show on the screen as we chat. And I make sure that people know that if you are not comfortable with being on audio and video, then you don't need a book. Now, this is what I do. I don't send out, like, for instance, yesterday I interviewed this guy, great guy, awesome. He said that he did a lot of interviews before and he really loved this one. I send out talking points. See, these are talking points. They're not questions because I don't want these interviews to be me shooting a question at them and they have a prepared answer. Because in real life, you can't prepare your answers for when things come at you. I want it to be as authentic as possible. And so this is what really made me mad. So I get the cancellation and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, do you want to reschedule? And she says, no. And I'm like, well, why? Because I really want to help the people in Western North Carolina. I really want for them to be able to do this. And so this is what she comes back with. Because I didn't receive a reminder notification about the interview until 9 p.m. the night before. Well, that is Calendly link. That is not me. Calendly sends out the notifications the day before. That night before, they send it out. I don't have anything to do with that. The fact that she used the Calendly to sign up and she read those booking things as she was filling out the questions, she must not have read them really well because it's extremely, and I use StreamYard and they will be sent Tuesday before the interview. She says, second, it wasn't that until 9 p.m. email that you indicated what you want to discuss and what I needed to prepare. You didn't need to prepare for anything. It's talking points. Like, first of all, introduce yourself. Read a part of your book. How can we donate to help Western North Carolina? What's still needed in Western North Carolina? If she is knowledgeable about the subject, she doesn't need to prepare She doesn't need to prepare answers and questions. Because I never know. It could be that I put something on the talking points that we don't even talk about because we have such a great conversation about something else because I'm actively listening to what she's saying. She said, third, because I had back-to-back meetings all day Wednesday, so I had no time to prepare. Well, first of all, she had back-to-back meetings on Wednesday. That meant that my 1:30 interview with her would not have been, she double booked herself. Right there, it tells me she double booked herself. And she could have easily said, give you grace, 100%, my bad, or oh my gosh, yes. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, and I've done hundreds of podcast interviews and I'm not accustomed to this level of unprofessionalism. Now that's the part that really got me. Because the first of all, I was like, okay, I understand we all screw up. We double book each other all the time. I do that sometimes. I get it. I understand. I understand the frustration. If you're like a person that's a type A person that likes things, but that's not how my podcast goes. If you do research, as I do research on my guests, but I only do a little bit of research. I don't do a whole bunch because I want to make sure that I'm listening to what they're saying to me and not thinking about the next question I'm asking. You may see sometimes when on the podcast, when you're watching it on video form, that I'm writing down questions because there's things that are popping into my head as they're speaking that I want to make sure we go back to. So that's one of the things that I do. And when she called me unprofessional, that's when it really got me. Really got me. Because I'm like, first of all, calling out someone that's unprofessional, I bet you $20 if the Today Show or Good Morning America or anybody else that's huge, the Clarkson Show, anybody that's huge had called her and said, Tuesday night, we need you Wednesday on the show. Would she have denied that opportunity? No, she wouldn't have, because I guess I wasn't a big enough brand name for her to be able to do that. And if you go back and you listen to any of the podcasts, you know it's authentic as possible. I don't edit. I tell them when they first come on the show, I don't edit any if I can't, because you can't edit in real life unless we have a technical issue. Sometimes I leave the technical issues in because I feel like the crux of the conversation is going to be deleted if I edit that part out, but I don't edit anything. And I throw the commercials up so we have a break. And then she says, all other podcasters provide me with pretty advanced notice about what they want to discuss. Well, I'm different from all other podcasters because I send talking points. I don't send a Q&A answer question. What information I need to provide in advance of the interview and the platform we will be using, and confirm with me more than 18 hours in advance. Well, first of all, she confirmed with me on January 28th when she booked this particular episode that she was going to come on, because in the screenshot I just shared, I say, please email to my email your headshot. So she already knew because she emailed it to me and sent it to me. But the thing is, she probably didn't mark yes when the confirmation came through Calendly for it to come on. Because if you don't mark yes, it won't show up in your calendar. I've made that mistake too sometimes. It won't show up. And there's been glitches with Calendly, 100%. But the fact that she got a notification the night before tells me that she did confirm and she did book. Well, the thing is, I didn't. I went, yes, their publicist sent me the thing saying about the book. And, then I sent back, I would love to have her on, send her the booking link. At that point, it was out of my hands. It was all in her hands. But that's what really bothered me, is when she called me unprofessional, because I pride myself on giving people a voice and letting people's voices be heard. So that's the reason why I don't do a Q&A session, because it doesn't benefit anybody. If you come with prepared questions, you just don't get the human experience. So I wrote back, thank you for your email. I'm truly sorry you're frustrated with this process, and I'd like to take a moment to clear up a few things for the sake of transparency and mutual respect. And it's very nice. It said, first, regarding reminders, the scheduling was done through my Calendly link, which automatically sends out reminders and all relevant information. Like I said, I'm only one person. And yes, things do fall through the cracks, including the platform details and the timing for when talking points are shared, which I say Tuesday night, they'll be sent, if not sooner. Sometimes I can get to them sooner. It just depends. And it's StreamYard. 100%. And they're bold-faced, if she had read it. The information is clearly stated on the booking page, and again in the confirmation email you would have received when you selected the time, and I did not personally schedule this. You signed up for the interview using this link, which allows you to manage your availability and reschedule if needed. As for preparation, the talking points are intentionally sent the evening before as noted on the sign-up page. This is because my interviews are not rehearsed Q&A interviews, but real meaningful conversations. I believe in showing up with authenticity, not a script, and giving space for the kind of discussion that feels true to life and not ever polished. My goal in offering you a spot was to spotlight voices that can make a difference, especially those from or impacting my home state of North Carolina during Hurricane Helene. That offer came from a place of good intention and not obligation. Lastly, I want to gently say this: calling me or my process unprofessional, especially when you signed up and the expectations were clearly stated, isn't fair. If the style of the show wasn't a fit, I completely understand it. But as someone who also works hard to create value for guests and audiences alike, I would have appreciated a little more grace. And I would have appreciated that. Wishing you all the best with your continued success in interviews. And so at this point, I want to stop, and I'm going to remove myself. And I'm going to show you some testimonials of people who have been guests on the show to tell you that maybe it's her, maybe she's not used to being able to talk off the top of her head. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Cami, and I am so excited to celebrate the chats from the Blog Cabin. I'm actually here in the Blog Cabin, and it's so cool to see what Melissa has done over the past year. I got to be a guest on her show. I think it was the 50th and possibly somewhere in the beginning as well. But I'm just so proud of her for taking the leap and stepping in front of the camera and making such a huge impact by having really courageous conversations with people from all across the world. So if you haven't checked out the show yet, please make sure that you head over and check out Chats from the Blog Cabin with Melissa Vera. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hi, I'm Donna Nairn, and I was on Chats with the Blog Cabin to talk about my keto experience and all that I know about the keto diet. And at first I was very, very nervous, but Melissa reassured me that it would be just like chatting with her, sitting on the couch at her house. And that is exactly what happened. She made me feel very comfortable, and I actually really enjoyed it.
So I'm Melissa Harrell, and it has been my pleasure to join my friend Melissa Vera this year as she has been hosting Chats on the Blog Cabin. As a mental health counselor, particularly as we were struggling with the pandemic, it has been such an opportunity to reach so many people on this platform, and such a service that Melissa has provided to allow all kinds of different people with expertise in all different kinds of fields to bring information to folks on this platform. So I'm excited that she was able to follow this vision and this dream, and I'm looking forward to being on more Chats on the Blog Cabin as in tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. So good luck, Melissa. Wishing you all the best in the next year of Chats at the Blog Cabin.
Melissa invited me on Chats from the Blog Cabin, and initially we were going to do it like she does most of her visits, over Facebook Live, in our own spaces, but I live out in the boonies where there's not good internet service, so I ended up getting to go to the blog cabin and do it in person, which was fun. We had to reschedule and work it out, and I was very nervous to go and do it and share my story and kind of give my testimony, I guess. But Melissa made it easy. I mean, I know Melissa personally, and she is a friend of mine, so I had that comfort level where some of the other guests may not. But she still was able to guide the conversation and never kind of let the conversation go stagnant or get dull. And she kind of nudged me to share my story because she thought it was important, and I'm so glad that I did, because these things need to be said, and an awareness for mental health is so important, and erasing the stigma is what's really going to help solve the mental health crisis that's going on in this country and all over the world, actually. So Melissa giving voices to people like me and giving us a platform to share our stories is so helpful, and I can only imagine the number of people that she has touched directly and indirectly through her series on her Facebook. So very glad to count Melissa as a friend, and very honored to have been asked to join her on the blog chats.
What a pleasure to be interviewed by Melissa. She was so thoughtful, insightful, and she truly understood and appreciated the mission of our little buddy here, Trouble the dog. We're honestly changing the world for kids, and Melissa gets that. So I'm very grateful to her, and I hope I get a chance to talk to her again soon. Thank you, Melissa.
Hey everyone, Simone with Sasul here, and I thoroughly enjoy working with Melissa Vera on her chats from the blog cabin. One, because the topics are just so relatable. From creating a snack board or cheese board, as my sister and I did last month, to doing an easy dinner cooking class. These are topics that people really want to watch. She's very communicative and really does a great job of pulling out awesome questions as you go through the motions. So that is one reason that I love working with her, and I look forward to more chats.
Hey, this is Emily from Odom Farming Company. I have had the pleasure of being on Chats from the Blog Cabin several times with Melissa, and it's a great time every time. She's wonderful at making you feel comfortable and at ease. She's such a great interviewer. She gets in things you forgot even about. So if you get a chance to be on, do so. If you've got an event coming up, something you want to promote, get on her schedule. You will not regret it.
Hey, my name is Madison Upton, and Melissa asked me to speak a little bit about my experience with Chats from the Blog Cabin. A little while back, she invited myself and several other wonderful women to speak with Restored for Moms about the group. And you need to go back and listen to that chat because it was really wonderful. But in talking about my experience with Chats from the Blog Cabin, a couple of things I want to highlight. Number one, Melissa is just wonderful. She makes you feel so comfortable. She is super prepared and organized and has everything just right and ready to go. And it's very easy to be a part of Chats from the Blog Cabin. She makes that very easy for everyone to join in and participate. The second thing I want to say is the type of information and material that Melissa covers is there's just a lot of breadth and a lot of depth to that. There are lots of topics that you will find in her chats, and so there's going to be something that you're interested in, and there's going to be something that speaks to your heart because she covers a lot of topics. And the third thing is just what a community she has built and how much heart and passion she has really put into Chats from the Blog Cabin. So if you're asked to participate, or if you want to ask her if you can participate, I really encourage you because it was a wonderful experience for me. And there is a lot of different topics, great variety out there. So you would be able to get something from her Chats from the Blog Cabin, and you're just pouring into the hearts of other women and men that might be listening. So thank you, Melissa, for inviting me, and I hope that this message will hopefully inspire somebody else to participate and be a part of the beautiful thing that you've created.
Hi there, Erica here from G105, giving a shout out to Melissa from Chats from the Blog Cabin. So I was fortunate enough to be on months back, and it was wonderful. It was so easy. I should log right in. We talked about everything as if we had known each other our whole lives, and you made it so comfortable, Melissa, and I'll be honored to be back on again. But I've really enjoyed watching all the other guests that you've had on, just really informative, easygoing, laid back, comfortable. I know we talked about some pretty deep topics and you made me feel very much at peace. And to know that other people maybe were watching that could get some insight or feel more comfortable in their own place in life with what we were talking about really made me feel good. So kudos to you for what you're doing. And I'm just so proud of you. And thank you for having me as a guest. And mwah, good luck to all the future adventures ahead, because I know you have great things ahead. Thank you. And it was a lot of fun. Bye.
Hello, I'm Laura Cheadle, and I wanted to share my experience being on Chats from the Blog Cabin. What I appreciated the most about it was the way Melissa truly listened. I've been on a lot of different podcasts where you're just asked a series of questions and it's almost like the host doesn't hear what you're saying. They just go to the next question. Melissa was different. She truly listened to the answer. She leaned in. She had follow-up questions based on that. And what I really appreciated was her vulnerability, the way that she would open up and apply some of the information to her and share the insights and the aha moments that she was having based on our conversation. So it really felt more like talking to a really caring friend who had a lot of wisdom and insight, but was balancing the give and the take and the flow and the exchange of the conversation. It was an amazing experience, such a great experience, actually, that I had the double blessing of being on her show twice. And I highly recommend Melissa and Chats from the Blog Cabin.
Hi. My name is Joanna Kime, and I wanted to share just a little bit about what it's like to be on Chats from the Blog Cabin. Melissa invited me to come on a while back and share about a ministry I volunteer for called Shores of Grace Ministries in Philadelphia. And it was a wonderful experience. I was nervous at the beginning, and it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. But it was really mostly like sitting down and chatting with a friend. You sort of forget that other people may be watching. Melissa helps you relax, asks questions, guides the conversation, and makes it really quite simple. And then I was on again to share about a coaching group that she and I had been a part of together. And again, this time it was with a panel. So a little bit nerve-wracking again, but it went great. She does a wonderful job, and I would gladly do it again.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to say that it was great to work with Melissa, to be on her podcast. One of the things that I admire about her versus other podcasts is that she asks some very thoughtful questions, but she also has some really great follow-up questions, and you can tell she's really listening and getting at the heart and the root of things. So great podcast to listen to also because she covers a lot of different topics. So if you were to just sit and listen to her, you would learn a lot about the world, really, and everything that's going on in society. So I really love that about her. And it was such a pleasure to be part of her podcast. Not many people would take a chance on a custody coach because there's not a lot of people who know much about that. So it was great for her to do that and to get my message out to parents in need.
I loved doing the podcast with Melissa. I'm an educator by trade and a consultant for a lot of school districts. And what was really nice about Melissa's work is that it was just a nice casual conversation. And she asked questions and guided the conversation in such a way as to make it meaningful for parents and listeners that she knows listen to her show. So it was just a nice, fun conversation. It was almost an hour and it just flew by like that. And I would encourage anyone who wants to engage with Melissa to take her up on it and participate on her Chats from the Blog Cabin.
Hi, my name is Erica Berger, and I was a guest on the Blog Cabin episode where Melissa had a bunch of moms, working moms, that are a part of a nonprofit group called Restored for Moms. And it was really wonderful because I was on a panel with some of my dearest restored mommies, and Melissa was the most amazing moderator. Felt like we were all together in the same space, got to talk a little bit about, what it's like to be a working mom, working during a pandemic, and just overall being in kind of a faith-based community with one another. How do we lean on one another? How do we navigate the things that we're going through together? And I cannot wait to be able to see the Blog Cabin in person. But for now, it was really a wonderful experience. And if you don't know about the Blog Cabin, you should check it out.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Elizabeth Gould, the author of Feeling Forwards, How to Become the Person Who Has the Life You Want. And I was delighted to recently appear on Melissa's podcast, Chats from the Blog Cabin, Adventures of Frugal Mum. And it was a really fun interview, not only because Melissa had taken the time to read the book and ask me some detailed questions, but she also asked me some really fun questions about what it's like to be an author as well, and all sorts of tips and ideas that I hadn't necessarily shared in any other interviews. So thank you so much, Melissa. I love your work, and hopefully I'll be able to reconnect with you and be on your show again soon.
You know those people that you meet and you just instantly like them for everything that they are? And then you realize that they are doing something incredible in the world. And it just makes it so much more awesome. That is Melissa from Chats from the Blog Cabin. I was fortunate enough to be on her or one of her episodes, and it was amazing. We just chatted like old friends. I do suggest that you check her out, like, subscribe, watch the videos. It's all about just being real and about making a difference and adding value to this world. So thank you so much, Melissa, for having me on. I look forward to a continued friendship and being on your show again. Take care.
I was interviewed by Melissa, and it was like we were long-lost friends. Two girlfriends who haven't spoken in a long time, and then when we started to catch up, we just couldn't stop chatting. It was a lot of fun sharing stories with you, Melissa, and I know you have a book in you, Fearless at 50. If I can help, let me know. Thanks for inviting me on to your podcast to hear my story, and thanks for sharing yours.
Hello, I'm Susan Davidson. I'm the face behind Ruth 216 Girl, and I just wanted to give a little testimonial about being on Chats from the Blog Cabin with Melissa Vera. She had invited me along with a couple other ladies that we all met in my One Thing coaching group with Nikki Koziars, and the chat that we did was kind of like a reunion for us because we all met there, and what we learned and the experience that we had and what we gleaned from doing that. But being on the show was a first for me because I usually don't do lives and I don't do chats like that, videos that are live, and so going on there was new for me. But Melissa made me feel so at ease, and she just kind of led us in the questions, and I never once felt nervous, never once felt I was put on the spot. But Melissa's just a very special person. She makes you feel like you're a friend, like you've known her forever, and it was just a very good experience for me, and I'm glad for my first video live chat, it was with her, and I'm so glad and blessed that I know her and have met her.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lawson. I made my first visit to the Blog Cabin on May 25th, 2021. Everything from the booking process to the follow-up after the taping was just so professional and top-notch. Melissa is awesome. As a rising author, I was thrilled that Melissa had such nice things to say about my book, Answering Liberty's Call, Anna Stone's Daring Ride to Valley Forge. I appreciated the opportunity to reach out to new readers and take them behind the scenes to talk about projects and circumstances that led me to write this historical novel. It's based on a family tale, stars my 6 times great-grandmother, who was a true patriot of the American Revolution. I learned a lot about my ancestors and myself during the research process. Patriot grandmother was a young minister's wife and mother of 3 small children when she got involved in the fight for American independence. When her husband and brothers faced starvation at Valley Forge, Anna was not content to stay at home and pray and worry. No way. She got on her horse and she headed out alone over 200 miles of rough roads to bring them life-sustaining supplies. And along the way, Anna learned to overthrow General Washington and replace him with a commander who could easily be persuaded to surrender. So with the fate of the American Revolution in her hands, she agreed to carry a message of warning and raced to Valley Forge before one of the conspirators could intercept her. Historical fiction fans will enjoy reading about America's quest for independence from a patriotic woman's point of view. And who doesn't love a story about a woman who sets off to save her man and ends up saving a whole country in the process? Answering Liberty's Call is available on Amazon and the online stores of Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and Walmart. And if you'd like a signed copy, you can order it directly from me at my website, tracylawsonbooks.com.
Hello, I'm Lucy Brummett, and I had the opportunity to be invited on Chats from the Blog Cabin with Melissa, and our topic was on friendship. So for me, it was really easy to get on this with her because I knew that our conversation was going to be awesome on that topic. And she has a way of making you feel just right at home, like you're sitting down, over a cup of coffee, just talking about really engaging topics. So if you ever get a chance to be invited and get the opportunity to be on Chats from the Blog Cabin, you will not be disappointed. You are going to come out feeling really, really good about the conversation that you were engaged in with Melissa. I highly recommend her. And Melissa, I wish you continued success, and thank you for having me.
So as you can see by all those testimonials, they not only call me professional and orderly, they talk about how I'm an active listener, how I am really engaging in the conversation. That is why I don't do Q&As. That's why I don't send out questions, and I only send out talking points, because in the real life community, we don't have talking points or questions about what we're going to talk about from day to day. I only put the talking points down to kind of guide the conversation so they know what we're talking about. But honestly, some of these talking points don't even get hit on during our course of a conversation, because it could be like, for instance, I interviewed a guy the other day and he was talking about how he was all these books, a book that he was talking about. So then I'm going to write down the book name and put that in the show notes. He was also talking about, the research he did and giving some more information and a documentary and things like that. And we talked about life experiences, and we talk about all these different things. There was a guy the other day that came on, and his name was David, and he wrote The Girl Who Wanted to Rock. And come to find out, he was one of the directors or one of the behind the scenes guys on Phantom of the Opera, one of my most favorite Broadway shows of all time, the very first Broadway show I ever saw. And I was like, oh my gosh, that I got to tell you about this, my first Broadway show. I'm actually interviewing a guy next week called Neil King, Trauma is a Thief. And I literally have highlighted some of the things in the book. This is what every book looks like that I read. Unless it's on Kindle, but then I highlight in my Kindle what it's like. But for instance, this particular tab right here has nothing to do with the book, but I want to talk about it for a minute. It's called VW Bus, because I have fond memories of being in a VW bus. My parents, we owned one. We drove up and down from North Carolina, Massachusetts every summer in that VW bus. So that brought back so much memories for me as I was reading his book. And his book is not light reading. It's a really heavy reading about his life experiences and how he grew up, and he was molested by his dad. I mean, really, we're talking about some really hard topics, but it's great when you can find common ground and when you can look at it. And I pride myself, and it's more than once somebody has told me, I cannot believe you read the book. Because I'm talking, these books are not like, this book is hefty, but there was one the other day was that thick, and I read the book. Or I listen to them as I'm working, and I stop and I highlight as I'm listening. So for to be called unprofessional was one. For not wanting to do the podcast, okay, I get it. You weren't prepared. You didn't like the way the podcast goes. I get it, 100%. Sometimes it's not in people's wheelhouses to do these types of things. But the thing that bothered me is this person was considered a spiritual leader and a speaker, and then to come out with all these negative comments when she, first of all, didn't have any contact with me other than signing up to my Calendly link and sending me an email with her headshot, which meant she confirmed it when she sent it. She knew it was on. Now, unless she didn't click yes on the Calendly link the day that she booked the podcast, then yeah, things could happen. But to come out and say she didn't get a reminder, which she did, because you get a confirmation as soon as you book. The fact that she sent me her headshot meant that she was aware of the conversation. And it's okay if we screw up. We go back-to-back meetings. I get it. We're busy. Some people are like, oh, I signed up for this back in January, but you know what? I just don't have it in me today to do it. And I didn't do it. For instance, the last 2 weeks, I have been booking it. I've been like multiple, like back-to-back interviews. Like Wednesdays, I only try to do 2. Sometimes there's 3, depending on what time they book. I try to leave myself like a little half hour between interviews, so I don't have to go back to back to back, so I can go out from one interview and prepare for another. And if I have to change the background, I change the background. I do all things so it doesn't look like I'm recording all in one day, which most of the time I am recording all in one day. But there was a time in April that I just like, I can't do it. I just cannot do any more chats in April. I know my bandwidth. So I emailed the people and I said, unfortunately, something's come up and I'm not doing any more interviews in April, but I would love to fit you in May and June. Not a problem. I literally had back to back to back to back conversations the last two Wednesdays, except for the 2 Wednesdays preceding this past Wednesday, back to back to back conversations. I mean, I had a 12:30, a 1:30, a 2:30, a 3:30, and a 4:30. And I try not to go any later than that because my husband comes home at around 5:30 and I want to spend time with him, or I want to get the rest of my day done, because not only the podcast is not my only thing that I do. Now, if podcasting is the only thing you do, that's great. 100% kudos to you. I don't have a sound engineer as well. I don't have anybody that sends out my talking points. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a virtual assistant, because it's that control thing for me right now. I'm at to the point where I'm about ready to hire somebody to do some of this stuff. But it's just, and podcasting is not the only thing I do. So Tuesday night and Wednesday are my podcasting days. And when I co-work, which I'm going to give a shout out to Melinda right now, because Melinda was actually a guest. Melinda started a co-working group. And when I co-work, most of the time, except if it's around tax season, I'm working on the podcast during the co-working time. And that's 2 hours on Tuesday, an hour on Tuesday, and an hour on Thursday. And then sometimes if I'm free on a Wednesday, I can actually do one on Wednesday, depending on it. But that's my time set aside. Tuesday night and Wednesday are my podcast time. The rest of the time is for my bread and butter, which is Adventures of Frugal Mom, and making sure you do social media, making sure you hit all these things, doing newsletters, doing this. You have the accounting side and everything else. So instead of judging people by calling them a professional, look at it like, okay, maybe they're not my cup of tea. Sorry, no, I don't want a book. It's just not going to work out for me this way. She didn't have to go into depth about all the reasons why she didn't want to reschedule. Because honestly, when I look at it and I say, well, maybe you didn't like the fact that I don't give Q&As, but if you had read, you would have known Q&As are not my type of deal. If you had even researched the podcast a little bit, because each time anybody comes on, I send them a talking points. I always talk to them right before they come on. If they're an author and I ask them, read part of your book, I make sure they have their book there. And they're like, what part do you want me to read? I'm like, whatever part you want to read. I said, because I feel like the author knows best what's going to resonate with their reader. And that way it doesn't put me on the spot, because it may be something that the author doesn't like, that the reader is like, my gosh, why did they read that to me? Why was that out there? But also, too, I send talking points. This one, actually, I sent at 5:12 p.m. So you never know what time of day that I actually send talking points. It just depends on when I can get to it and get around to it. Because like I said, I have my other bread and butter is Adventures of Frugal Mom. It's what pays the bills. Plus, I have other things going on. I have a family. I have a life. I don't work on the weekends. I try not to work on the weekends. I have other things going on. I've got some health issues as well going on as well. That's why when I know my breaking point and know that I cannot do another thing is when I know I need to take a break. And there's just so many different things that people just don't take into account. They just want to be nasty and ugly to people. And I just want to say, just give them grace, give each other grace, because that was the whole reason why I started Chats from the Blog Cabin, is I wanted people to come on and share their stories, to share their information, to share what happened to them in their life, to share what's going on and why they believe the way they believe. Because it's only when we sit down and have these authentic conversations with each other can we learn from each other. Instead of yelling and screaming and calling each other names, we can just simply sit down and say, you know what? I don't actually agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to listen to your viewpoints, because you never know. There may be that one little caveat of something that they said that really will, like, oh my gosh, and you hit a light bulb and you're like, I never thought about it that way. Like, for instance, back when I did a panel on race relations, this was right during COVID. It was when George Floyd, what happened to him, which was horrendous. And this is coming from a cop's daughter. It was very horrendous what happened to him. Regardless of if he was a criminal or not, he did not deserve to die like that, regardless, okay? But I had 2 panels on race relations, on prejudice and racism in the United States. And one of my friends, actually, who I adore dearly, was like, you know, when people say they don't see color, and this is what I used to say all the time. I used to say, well, I look at you and I don't see color. And they're like, do you realize that's a form? What you're saying is kind of racist. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because to me, I thought, okay, I don't see color because I see you as a person. I don't see you as a Black woman or a Black man or African American or a Hispanic man or, you know, whatever type of person. And she's like, because she said, you're taking a part of my identity. She said, you're taking my color as part of my identity. She says, it's not all who I am, but when you don't see my color, you say you don't see my color, you're not seeing everything about me. And so then I was like, what if I said, of course I see your color, but I don't let it determine the way I treat you. She said, yes, there you go. So it's all about reframing what we're saying and rethinking about things that we're saying. Now, honestly, there are conversations that are tough conversations like this one coming up. I know this week is going to be tough. I know it's going to be super tough, but it's conversations that need to be had. They need to be out here in the world so that we can learn. Because I don't know how many conversations I've heard about where a woman gets beaten and, oh, what did she do? What did she do to deserve this? What did she do to make her husband angry or make her boyfriend angry? When in fact, they did nothing. It was just something that's embedded or ingrained in their spouse or their boyfriend or their girlfriend or whoever, spousal abuse, domestic violence, whatever. So it wasn't what they did. And society is so quick to blame the victims that they're not blaming the perpetrators as much. Just like, for instance, I'm just going to bring up Hurricane Helene again. A lot of people, I saw a lot on social media about, how God was raining down his fury on the people of Western North Carolina. And I'm like, how can you live in a world that if you believe in God, believe God is that vengeful? I mean, yes, in the Bible, he had floods and things like that, but it also brought people together when things happen like that. And that's what I wanted to do with that particular episode. But unfortunately, it doesn't help. But I will say this, I will throw in the show notes everywhere. If you still want to donate and want to help out the people in Western North Carolina, please go and support these organizations. I have a really good friend, Cassie, who she has a podcast called Where the Dogwood Blooms, and she's all about Western North Carolina. She grew up in Western North Carolina, and I will put her in there as well because she has a great standpoint on, how you can donate. She literally loaded her car up and drove up to Western North Carolina and brought things to the communities there, because there's a lot of smaller communities in Western North Carolina that weren't getting any help because they're so what's the word I'm looking for? They're so out there. They're not desolate. I'm thinking the word is on like on the tip of my tongue and I can't, but they're not abandoned. They're not desolate. They're just kind of off the grid a little bit. And so there are people that live up in the mountains that, they don't like government. They don't like this. They don't like that. I mean, the mountains in North Carolina are beautiful. So I'm going to put in the show notes where you can volunteer, donate, however you feel led to do. And a matter of fact, if you heard the one from my friend Joanne, the testimonial, she actually, every once in a while, you hear a commercial about her, about donating to Shores of Grace in Philly. And these are the people that they're going to help are the unhomed, which is the new word for homeless, if you didn't know that. The unhomed, the people who may have drug addiction, they just love on them. And there's so many times that society pushes away the people that they don't think is preferable to what society should look like what's going on in our current administration right now with all these immigrants being attacked. But yeah, so until next time, guys, give each other grace. And honestly, calling someone unprofessional is more about you being unprofessional than it is about the other person. Because obviously when they said that they had back-to-back meetings on Wednesday and no time to prepare, meant that she double booked herself. And if she just said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I double booked myself, then I would have said, not a problem, we can reschedule. Because I've had to do that with some other guests too. Particularly, there was one the other day that was a judge, and he was supposed to be on, could not get StreamYard to work, finally got it to work, and it was like 20 minutes before my next interview. And I'm like, it's not going to give us the depth and the breadth of being able to do this episode in the way I want to do it. And he's like, not a problem. I can do it tomorrow. And so we got in and did the conversation the next day. He even shared with me some of the stuff that was going on in his personal life that I'm like, do you want to reschedule since, you're kind of, he's like, no, this is a great little break for me. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get into it then. So it's really cool to meet these people and to meet these lawyers and these other people from just people from all over the world that have all different kinds of information that they want to share and their stories. And that's the whole point. My Chats from the Blog Cabin is about giving people a chance to give a platform to their story, because I was never heard when I was younger. And so I wanted to give that back. In a way, I'm making myself heard by giving that back to others. So until next time, bye.